Good morning, and if you notice my camera angle is a little different, we have upgraded the camera, and we have a large youth event going on downstairs. So if you hear children playing or having a good time, we're just having a regular day for our church service here, and we came upstairs to do our podcast on Marcus Aurelius. Now I'm going to kick it over to Mr. Schmidt and see what he's got for us.
Well, hey everybody! Now that we have Les Grossman in the room with us, we are just kicking it off this new camera angle, which I'm able to see. It's pretty funny. We haven't figured it quite out yet, but that's okay.
But y'all have bared with us for a long time, so I know you're going to stay for this one.
Oh, for sure. This is a pretty good one. So stay to the end. I'm sure it's not going to be that long either. So one great thing about Marcus Aurelius is that he continues to provide us with good quality examples on how to live, how to be better people, how to govern our lives in such a way where it's a benefit for ourselves and for others. And it doesn't disappoint. It goes right off from where we left off in book 2 of Marcus Aurelius. It says, "Give thyself time to learn something new and good, and cease to be whirled around." Don't be just twisted around everywhere. Basically, stay focused. And staying focused on learning things good and beneficial is obviously a wonderful thing. I took that a little bit further in that don't be a whirlwind would also mean when learning something new and good is take everything that you can, take time to learn, take time to be focused, do whatever you can do to find something useful to know out of all life. It's difficult to be cognizant of that all the time because you're living your life, you're doing things, but as you drive home from an event or you drive wherever, or if you're going to lay down or you're taking a shower, try to reflect on the things that you could learn from your day-to-day life.
I think that's interesting what you just said is your reflection time. I think so much of what we go through in today's society is we have so much information always bombarding us that we don't have any time to reflect and digest. So it's pretty crucial that when we take the time to learn something, we should take a little bit of time to stop and reflect on what we've just learned, to digest it and hold it into our long-term memories, because there's so much information coming at us all the time. We have to pick and choose what we want to know and then reflect and think about what we've just learned.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of equate that to my habit of over the years taking all the photos out of my phone and making a memory book out of all of them, because just like we're reflecting, sometimes you just forget you even did things.
Well, yeah, those pictures are good memory recalls, and they say, oh, I almost forgot about that event, or you just don't think about that event, and then you see a picture of yourself in that space, and you're like, oh man, it brings you back to that memory.
Yeah, and you can think, what did, a lot of those pictures you just can't help but laugh, but some of them you can think, well, I had a really good, valuable lesson, and, whatever that happened to be. I do like how he says, don't be carried about the other way. Again, just reinforcing that stay focused. And for those two are triflers who have wearied themselves in life by their activity. Don't just trifle life away. We see this all the time everywhere you go. Instead of people having good conversation over dinner at any particular restaurant, we've mentioned this before. Well, everybody's stuck on their phone. Nobody's having a conversation. They're just playing a video game or watching the latest TikTok video or whatever it is that is totally meaningless, instead of doing things that can help you be more focused on not being a trifler.
Yeah, I have a rule at our house. When it's dinner time, we do not have phones out. That is a time to come together as a family and talk about your day and actually engage with each other. I think a lot of that is lost on most people. You see them all the time going out to eat, and everybody has their phone out, and that's how they communicate. Hey, watch this video or look at this, instead of communicating through your own life. I think it's really strange that people live their life looking at a piece of glass with a light behind it. Instead of living life you're looking at someone else live their life through a piece of glass with a light behind it.
It's rather odd.
I mean, it's really strange.
It's pretty brilliant that the powers that be can force out all of those excitable hormones inside you to keep you trapped and engaged in that kind of activity instead of living your life. It's kind of sad, actually, but it is what it is. That's why we're here to help in this conversation about learning and doing better. Thanks, Marcus Aurelius. And for those that are wondering what a trifler is, it is not sit around wasting your time on a cell phone. Those who do not observe the moments of their own minds must of necessity be unhappy. I think that's why we see such a massive depression rate in this country and in Western civilization. For sure, what we were just talking about.
Well, not to mention that when you're looking at those phones, when you're going through TikTok, they know how to hit your dopamine and it spikes it. So we in the modern society have an excess of dopamine. So I think it's a really wonderful idea that I try to practice this at least once a week, and I normally do it on Sundays, is I put all electronics down for the entire day and only pick them up for 100% necessities. It gives your brain time to detox and get a lot of that excess hormone out, because it's like anything else. If you're drinking wine or any other vice, the more you do it, the more you want to do it, and your body adapts to it, so you need more and more to get that high. And I think it's interesting that Marcus Aurelius brings this up, that you need to reflect on the moments in your own mind. Like I said earlier, I don't think people do that enough. The way I took that is I like to think of Sir Conan Doyle when he says in Sherlock Holmes that your mind is like an addict. And instead of having it cluttered around with a bunch of different things, Sherlock Holmes's mind is an attic full of well-appointed and well-used furniture and filings. You have to be able to go back to those things and think of your mind as an office. Do you want to walk into a dirty, messy office with papers going out everywhere and try to find something? Or would you rather go to a nice, clean, well-appointed, comfortable office that has all the amenities and a great filing system that you could use? The well-appointed mind is a happy mind.
I think you're exactly right, without a doubt. I like how he goes on to say, always bear in mind, what is the nature of the whole? And what is my nature? And how is this related to that? I think of people in today's society just as much as a couple of thousand years ago, as he noticed, there's so many things all around us. We see these dots everywhere, but nobody connects them. And there are a lot of dots that are obviously connected and nobody sees the connection at all. And he recognized that same fact way back then, and that's a powerful observation, especially before now. Like, it is really easy to see the whole, how everything is connected. Boy, I hear that music. I wonder if y'all can hear that on the microphone. I guess we're going to find out in a little while. Yeah. But boy, we're down there cleaning after a coming out birthday party for a 15-year-old girl last night here, and we got a big, huge youth group down there cleaning up and singing and dancing. So if y'all can hear it, well, just enjoy it.
Yeah, because that's what we're all about here, is bringing people together and having fun.
Yeah, having a great time and learning and being better people and love and happiness the way, we just strive to do it every day the best we can.
Bringing back to Marcus Aurelius, I had the question, when what you just said is putting the dots together, and the well-appointed mind is, and I don't even want to answer the question. I don't leave this to you as a person at home to answer it in your own mind. Is ignorance really bliss?
Yeah, that could be a whole nother topic, because ignorance is a curse, and it causes you a lot more harm than good, even though you may be unaware of the harm you're causing to yourself. And I can go on ad nauseum about that in a very entertaining way, I'm sure. But I just, right now, no. As we continue with this Marcus Aurelius, he just says, offenses which are committed through desire are more blamable than those which are committed through anger. Desire and anger, two totally different things, obviously. He who is excited by anger seems to turn away from reason. You know, we saw that today in some conversations we were watching earlier. You know, people, as soon as their anger switch goes on, they're off. There's no more logic. There's no more discussion. It's just nothing but might as well turn and leave.
Yeah, but I do agree with Marcus and the philosopher that he was quoting there, that I do agree that acts out of anger or acts out of desire are more contemptible than acts out of anger. You know, acts out of desire are premeditated things. Things out of anger can just be, well, you flew off the handle. And it doesn't mean it has to be a huge offense, but when you're going against another human being in a negative way, you're taking on the bad karma on your soul and then trying to put them in another contemptible position. Whereas if you do it out of anger, you know, I think maybe some of those things, everyone has said things they didn't mean, or they look back at a conversation they were thinking, you know, I really shouldn't have said that, and I can make amends to that. But I think it's a lot harder to have a crime of passion and that you had thought about it, and to make amends for an act like that.
I think that's why he wrote about it. It's important. It's easier to forgive somebody who flies off the handle than it is for someone who is premeditating things against you.
Yes, of course.
Or against society or someone else or whatever the case may be. He goes on to say that reason with a certain pain and unconsciousness contraction. But he who offends through desire, being overpowered by pleasure, seems to be in a manner more intemperate and more womanish in his offenses. You know, to describe somebody as womanish in today's society would be highly contemptible.
No, say it again. So.
Yeah, I mean, but there are real big differences between men and women and how they react in general. You know, that's why it's called a generalization. There are differences generally between men and women, and so I mean, most common sense people understand what he's saying without being offended by that.
Well, I mean, I don't think anyone should get offended by saying that women generally are more emotional than men are.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, men are certainly emotional and certainly gossip and do certain things similar to women, although they don't physically portray the same attributes as women in their tones and mannerisms.
Yeah, see, that's one of the things that I do not get with the society that we're in. There are distinct differences between men and women, and I think those differences should not have the lines blurred. I think they should be celebrated.
For sure.
I mean, I don't know why everybody wants to be a monochrome color. It's boring. I mean, we want differences. I want individuality. I want people to have a different perspective than mine, and I think it's wonderful. I mean, if I had a partner that was exactly like me in every way, it sure would get dull really fast.
Really, really fast. Well, I think we do spotlight certain differences of other people in our society now when it should just be everyone is, well, of course we're not all equal. Like certain things you're stronger than me in, certain things I'm stronger than you in, and same way with everybody else. And we shouldn't just pick one certain group and say, oh, we need to, oh, these people matter, or this parade is more important than something else. Nobody should really care. Like everything, if that interests you, great. Then go get interested and go learn, and hopefully that makes you better. Not everything, you know, I'm more important or better than you, and y'all need to recognize me. You need to hire me or don't hire me because of this or that. I don't know, sure, that's not what Marcus Aurelius is saying here, but he's just emphasizing differences, and sometimes you can't even mention differences without offending people.
No, you can't mention differences without offending people. And again, I think that should be a celebrated act of our society. I think it's really quite interesting that through a lot of our society, we want to not celebrate differences in some aspects, but then over-celebrate them in other aspects. Sporting events, to me, is a wonderful example of how we're okay with some differences. We're okay with, you know, a bunch of guys going out there on Sunday and playing football, and they're better. I mean, there's a small percentage of people that are high school football players that will go on to be college. And then from college, to the professionals. And then there's another level from the professionals to the elite level. And people are okay with that. They're willing to spend, $500-$600 on a ticket to go see, the Cowboys or the Saints or whoever it might be. And they're okay with those differences. They're okay with them saying, oh, well, that person's better than me, and I'll pay to see that. And I'll even give them my tax money. I'll give them my money that I've hardly earned or I've worked hard to earn. I'll wear their number and their name on my back and celebrate those people. Or actors, they celebrate those people, but they don't celebrate the common differences that make society as a whole a bright and beautiful tapestry.
I think that is one of the wonderful tangents that you can just instantly find yourself on reading Marcus Aurelius, because just some of the language makes you instantly think of the culture that Western civilization for the most part is in, that even simple descriptions of something, of thought, could be offensive and turn people off even while reading it. And we continue, the offense which is committed with pleasure is more blamable than that which is committed with pain. And there's probably a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, if you take pride and joy in hurting something or someone, that seems to be a very contemptible act. Whether it be an animal or another person, it's just probably not a good thing to find yourself in.
No. And since it is possible that thou mayest depart from life this very moment, regulate every act and thought accordingly. That's really hard to do, but it's very important to contemplate on a regular basis. And I think our group down here is getting a little bit louder and louder and louder, so I think we should put a couple of our last thoughts in this and congratulate y'all for staying with us.
Yeah, because sometimes we do get a little rowdy here and just have fun and enjoy life like we were speaking of in the first part of Marcus Aurelius. We want to enjoy life and have a good time. And I want to commend those people down there for having a good and wonderful time out there and getting the most out of life. With that music, and I hear people dancing and kids running around, I doubt there's very many people out there looking at a piece of glass with a light behind it.
Nobody.
Yeah, and I challenge y'all to do the same thing after you watch this video, of course.
Of course. And make sure that you join our website. You don't have to join, but go to our website. All of our videos are illustrated in different sections. They're easy to follow. They're a lot easier, I think, than going to Rumble or BitChute or YouTube. They are just go in there segregated, like this series is in its own series. All the other ones it's easy to find. So with that, thank you for staying with us this long, and we'll see you again on the next Marcus Aurelius, and we'll have several other topics along with our continuing series on the Bible. So thanks for joining us.
Have a good day.